Hello, class. This is the switch statement section, okay? And it says that the switch statement lets the value of a variable or expression determine where the program will branch. Basically, like if statements, you could take an if statement and break and with nested ifs and break it into a switch statement. But you can only do it if you matching values, not greater than, less than, or not equal to. You're matching values. Okay. Uh, so the branch occurs when one part of the program causes another part to execute. Okay. The if-else statement allow if statements allow your program to branch into one of several possible paths. Right? It performs a series of tests, usually relational, right, and branches when one of these tests is true. The switch statement is a similar mechanism. It, however, tests the value of an integer expression and then uses that value to determine which set of statements to branch to. Okay, and here would be the format of how a case statement would be, a switch statement would be used in a program. You would have a switch, and then that integer expression, that variable or whatnot, and then you have your body, your open curly brace, your closed curly brace, and then from that variable, you would say case and whatever value you're matching it to, and then you can have statements, case, and then the next value you want to match it to, and then your statements. All right, and then you could have uh, a default, which would be if it's not this or it's not this, then it would default into executing these statements. Okay, so this is the somewhat format of how you would create a case statement, and we'll see that in the program in a little while. Okay, now the first line of the statement starts with the word switch. Okay, followed by an integer expression inside parentheses. All right. Okay, whatever variable or value you want. This can be either of the following: a variable of any of the integer data types, including char, an expression whose value is of any of the integer data types. All right. So look at this. On the next line is the beginning of the block, the curly brace. All right, containing several case statements. Each case statement is formatted in the following manner. You have case, whatever you're comparing it to, colon. Okay, you need the colon, not semicolon, not comma, colon. And then here is where you would have your statements. You could have as many statements as you want to execute within that particular case. Right? Now it says after the word case is a constant expression. And we'll see that example in a little while, which must be of an integer type. So it's going to match that value. A char value, remember, is actually what? An integer, because it's stored, the uppercase letter A stored is really what? 65. Okay? So you can take a char value and compare it to that, and it's going to compare it to that integer value. Okay? And so it says it must be of an integer type, right? Followed by a colon. The constant expression may be of integer literal or an integer named constant. Okay, so you could have a constant that's set at the beginning of the program or somewhere else that you can use. Okay, the case statement marks the beginning of a section of statements. So when you see case, it's pretty much saying based on the case where this matches, I want to do this. But then you can have another case based on the case where this matches, I want to do this. So you can have several different cases, and many cases as you want in your program. Okay, so it marks the beginning of a section of statements. The program branches to these statements if the value of the switch expression matches. So we say what? It has to match the value, okay, of that case expression. Okay, so now it says what? Warning, expressions of each case statement in a block must be unique. All right. So what it's saying is that, okay, when I'm comparing A, I'm comparing A. I can't compare uppercase letter A. I can't compare it twice. Okay, they must be unique. All right. Each case statement must be unique. All right. So the expression following the word case must be of integer, literal, or constant. Okay. It cannot be a variable. All right. And it cannot be an expression such as x less than 20 or n equal 50. All right. It's matching a value. Okay. Now, with a case statement, there's an optional command called default. Okay. And what the default does, if you checking for the letter A, then you're checking for the letter E, checking for the letter I, checking for the letter O, checking for the letter U, and neither one are found, and that's vowels. All right. You can have a default that says what? If the letter that I'm checking is not A, E, I, O, U, then I can have a default, and then it could say this particular whatever is not a vowel. Okay, so you can have a default value. All right. So the program branches to this section, to the default section, if none of the case expressions matches or match the switch expressions. Okay. So if a function, so it functions like a tailing else. All right. So you're doing this, else you're doing whatever in an if statement. All right. So let's look at a program that was written using using a case statement. Okay. Program 4.23. And a comment says the switch statement in this program tells the user something he or she already knows. The data just entered. Okay, so let's look at the program. You have your pound include IO stream, so we're going to be either inputting or outputting data using namespace, std, standard libraries. And now here we have int main. Okay, this is our main body. We got open, close parentheses, no arguments. And then we have our curly braces to what? To embody the body for the main. But if you notice, we also have curly braces here. This is for our switch. All right, our switch statement has to be embodied in not the switch statement, but the lines of code for the switch have to be embodied in the open curly brace and close curly brace. So let's look at this. We have char choice. So char choice means we're going to be inputting a value of what? A single character. Okay, char, one single character. String, you can have what? Multiple characters. But char is one single character. So now we saying C out, all right, enter, letter capital A, capital B, or capital C. So we telling the user to input one of those three values, capital A, B, or C. Then we saying C in choice. Now, you know that the user can input any character that they want, right? It's not going to permit them from inputting any one of those, but you as the programmer is writing this switch statement that will determine what is printed out, what is inputted, and if a valid input is actually placed in the inputted into the program. So C in choice. So we input a single character, hit enter. Then it will hit this switch statement, and this switch statement will take choice, and then from choice, it's say case, and then in single quotes, because what is char, right? Single quotes, char A. If it's A, you entered A. And then it breaks. See this command here, break? Break allows the system to break out of this case statement and continue on with the program, so that none of the rest of the case options will be executed. All right. So if we put in A, it would do case A. All right. Then it would output you entered A new line, and then it would break. All right. It kicks out. If you entered B, then it would check for A, it would skip it. It checks for B, then it would output you entered B, new line, and then it'll break out of the switch statement and return 0. If you entered C, it would check for C at this point, it skips it. Check for C at this point, it will skips it. Check for C at this point, it would output you entered C, and then break on out of the switch body. All right. But if neither one of those three characters was inputted, capital A, capital B, or capital C, you could put a slash, you could put a $sign, you could put whatever, any one of the other a character other than those three, then you would get the default message, you did not enter A, B, or C. Okay, and then it would quit. All right. So what we could do, I can either type that simple program in the online GDB, or we can create a new one. So let's look at online GDB and let's create something. So I'll do another one. I'll say int. I'll say letter. Okay, and then I'll say cout enter. Let's see, letter. I'll say number. Okay, I'll just say number. We did the letters. But remember, numbers can be characters also. So enter a number, a single digit number. Enter a single digit number, okay? And we'll say number. All right, so we're gonna input number. Now we'll do our switch statement. Switch, and we're gonna do a switch on number, okay? Now, we know that, well, not integer. We could do char. All right, so we know that number is being inputted as char, all right? So we do a switch, and then now we could do case, all right? Case, and then in single quote, I'll do 1 and colon, all right? So if they input a 1, all right, I want to cout all right, you have inputted the number 1, all right? And then I will do the break, all right? And we'll look at that break in a little while too and see what happens when we don't use it. I'll do case 2, all right? And then cout and I'll just do 4. I'll say, I forgot my break. And sometimes you may not want to use the break, but you know, it just determine it based on your logic. And we'll see that later on in the chapter 2. Okay. And I'll just do one more to show you can do more than one. I mean, more than the 3 that they had. All right, break. And then I could say here, default, uh, and I could say, you were told I'll change the top. All right. Number from 1 through 4. Now I have to go to the top and do what? Say here, please enter a number from 1 to 4. All right. So I'm telling you to enter a number from 1 to 4. And this is going to check to see if you entered a number from 1 to 4. If you didn't enter a number from 1 to 4, then it's going to say you were told to enter a number from 1 to 4. Now, some programmers, you do not have to use the break command in the last in the default, which would be the last option of a case. Some programmers put it for consistency, but really, you really don't need it because it won't have any other statements to execute. But if you're comfortable at putting it, just go ahead on and put it. It doesn't cause any problems. So let's run this program. All right. So we've created this program. So let's run this program. So based on this program, it's asking us to enter either a 1, 2, 3, or 4. Now, we entering 1, 2, 3, or 4 as what? Char. Okay, so it's a char value. So that's why when we do case 1, we're doing the char value 1. Okay, so when I run it, all right, I put in 1, all right, and it tells me you have entered the number 1. Okay. So let's run it again. And see, I'll put 3. You have entered the number 3. All right. Let's run it again. And now we'll enter, like, say, a 9. Okay. Hit enter. You were told to enter a number from 1 through 4. So you see what happens? It checks. No number was valid. So by default, it printed out you with the default express value. All right, or default output. You were told to enter a number from 1 through 4. Okay, so that's the switch statement. So let's look back at our notes. Okay, and that's similar to what this program is. All right. All right, so it shows where what? Enter A, B, or C. All right, they entered B, and then the output was you entered B. All right, enter A, B, or C. They entered F. You did not enter A, B, or C. All right, but notice what? My prompt for the default was different. And you as the programmer, if you're writing code for yourself, you're able to put whatever type prompt you want to put as, let's say, A. I told you to put use A, B, or C, or however you want. You can be creative. You could be hilarious with your responses, or whatever. You can be serious. Please do not attempt this again. I told you to do whatever, or whatever it may be. But you, the programmer, will have control over that. All right. So this is just basically telling us what had happened, in the previous program. So let's look at another program without the breaks. Okay, and I'll look back at the other one without the breaks. So what they simply did, they just took out the breaks, all of the breaks from the program. Case A, output you've entered A, no breaks. Case B, you've entered B, no break. Case C, you've entered C, no breaks. And then default, and which you don't need breaks. But what happens is, if you look at this program, they entered the letter A. Once they entered the letter A, it hit this case, executed this, it executed this, it executed this, and it executed that. So once, if you have a program and have a switch clause in it, and you do not use break, once wherever it falls in that case, it will perform every statement from that point forward. Example: if we would put in like here C, when they put in C, it didn't. C was not equal. A was not equal to C. B was not equal to C. So what happened? It started at C. You entered C, and then it still output what? You did not enter A, B, or C. So you have to watch. Sometimes you may want to do that depending on how your logic is. So let's look back at the program again. So if I were to comment these breaks out here, all right, all right, and this one really doesn't matter, but I'll just comment it out. Now, so what I'm saying is, if I run this program and I input the number 2, all right, it's going to try to match 2 with 1. Doesn't match. It's going to try to match 2 with 2. It matches. It's going to say you entered the number 2, you entered the number 3, you entered the number 4. You were told to enter a number from 1 through 4. Because once it falls in the case statement, it's going to execute all of them until it sees a break. All right, so let's run it and test that theory. Okay, so here we'll put in a 2. All right, we'll put in 2 and we hit enter. See, you entered 2, the number 2, you entered the number 3, you entered the number 4. You were told to enter a number from 1 through 4. So you got to be careful when using that switch statement. All right, for each case, depending on your logic, you may want to use the break. Sometimes you may not. All right, and in the chapter it shows, and we'll get to it after we leave this, because I'll show you another example. If you were trying to test if a character was A, you could test to see if it's an uppercase A or a lowercase a. So what you would have, case A, lowercase, all right, then no break, all right, case uppercase A. So if it's either one, it's going to go through it and then it's going to output what you want to output and then break. So you can have multiple cases that you want to check for, all right, and let it go through and then kick on out, all right? Now, so let's say we enter the 4. If we enter 4, it's going to output you have entered the number 4, but it also going to output you were told to enter a number from 1 through 4 because what? This break is not in here. So let's run it. Okay. We type in the number 4 and we hit enter. You have entered the number 4, but then what? You were told to enter a number from 1 through 4. So you got to be careful when you actually are using this the case statement. All right. Know when when to use the breaks. But normally, depending, you may want to always use your breaks nowadays. You know, now, since you're beginning programming and then your program may not require you to test for multiples, you know, but it may, all right, your program may, or you may want to test it in that fashion. So let's look at our notes again, all right? So back to the notes. Here we have, it tells us about the break. Without a break statement, the program falls through all of the statements below the ones in which the matching case with the matching case expression. So we did it. We typed in the 2. Once it fell into the 2, it did all of the statements till it either hit a break or it ended through the default. We did the 4. The 4 was the very last one before the default. So it did you entered 4, and it did you were told to input a number between 1 through 4. All right. So that's what this is saying. But sometimes you might write code to where you do want it to operate in a fashion where you may eliminate break statements. So look at this. In program 4.4-25, okay, it lists features for three TV models, all right, a customer may choose from or may want to buy. Okay. And what they did was they have the three different models, and the lower model, you just get a remote. I think the next model, and we'll just look at this. The next model, you can get stereo sound, I guess surround sound, and the remote. And with the next higher model, you can get the TV in a picture, stereo sound, and the remote. So you see how all of a sudden now, without the brakes, if I put in a particular value, if I put in 100, it'll fall in here and say remote control and brake, letting you know what your choices was. But if I put 200, I get the stereo sound and the remote control, and then it breaks and tell me where. Then if I put 300, then it lets me know I get the TV in a picture, the stereo sound, and the remote. So it just depends on how your code is to be written. All right. So let's look at this program. So it says this program is carefully constructed to use a fall through feature with the switch statement. All right. We got our pound include IO stream using namespace STD. We have an int main. Then we have int model number. Okay. So we're going to be entering a model of 100, 200, or 300. Okay. That's going to be our choices. All right. So now this is integer. Remember the last program we did with case, we did what? We did char. Now this is the actual number, integer number. All right. So it says, see out, our TV comes with three models. Okay. See out the 100, 200, and 300. Which do you want? And then it says CN model. So you put in the model. If you put 100, if we go down here, what would happen is it would say see out the model of the see out, and it just say that model has the following features. So if I put 100, it'll go through this case statement, and it's going to skip this one, skip that one. Oh, it matches here. Then it's going to say what? That model feature, what it says, that model has the following feature, and then it's going to output remote control. Okay. Now, if I would have inputted 300, it would have said that model has the following feature. It would have did the 300 here. It said picture in picture, new line. It would have see out stereo sound, new line. And then it would output remote control and then brake and kicks out. Notice what? The brake is only after the three different models, but then the model was in reverse order where the higher number was the highest one, where you had all of the different features in the higher model, but the lower model didn't have the features. But what? You got to brake because what? If you entered any other number other than 100, 200, or 300, it would say you can only choose the 100, 200, or 300. Okay, so that's how that would work. So let's try to write that one right quick. We could just modify our code, simply modify our code here. We'll call this, we could say int here. We'll call it model. We won't change the labels, our couts. We'll just leave this. I'll say int model. All right. CN. I'll say enter. All right. Enter model number. I'll put in pound sign. Okay. Model number 100, 200, 300. And then we're going to input a model. We have to change number to model. And then we have to change number here because we're not doing a check on a match on model number. We're doing a check on model. All right. So now here we're gonna do a case on a what? On what? We do the 300 first, right? Then we'll do a case on 200, and then we'll do a case on the 100. Notice they're not in what? The single quotes, because what? It's integer, right? It's not a char value anymore. We're dealing with integer. So what I would do is I'm gonna take this fourth option off of here, all right? So that'll come out, all right? So now, and say what? This one was, I'll just say, okay, I'll say P, PNP. All right, so picture in picture. Okay, for this one, I'll just put stereo. And I could write stereo. And this one would be what? The remote. Okay. All right. So now, and then this one would say what? You've all right, you've entered an invalid model number. Okay. So, okay. So now, so we have this. So if we run, well, we have to what? Take our breakout, remember? And if we wanted to go through, and if I put 200 to go, well, I need this one. All right. So if it's 300, it falls in here. It's going to output, you have P and P, picture in picture. So it won't do the break. It's going to go 200, but it won't match it. It's just going to stay in here, and it's going to output. Once it falls in, it won't get out until it hit a break. So you're going to go ahead and say you have stereo, and then it's going to go ahead and say you have a remote, and then it see the break and it kicks out. But if I enter 100, doesn't match, skip that, doesn't match, skip that, then it's going to say you have a remote, all right? But then if I put any other number other than 100, 200, or 300, it's going to say you have entered an invalid model, all right? Model number. So let's run it. And I think I got all the errors out. Let's run it. We'll see. All right. So it says enter a model number. So I'll put 300. Okay, hit enter. Okay, you have PNP, you have stereo, and you have a remote. And it's spaced out. I'm gonna try to take that out so it won't be so wide. Triple space in it. I'll just take it out. And I'll take this one out too. All right, and okay, and I'll put it here. All right. So I'll just add some inlines here. So let's run it again. All right. So in our model, so this time I'll put 200. And what it should output? That I only have what? Stereo and a remote. See? Stereo and a remote. Okay. Now, if I put any other number other than 100, 200, I could put just the number 1. Put the number 1. See? You have entered an invalid model. Because what? The number should be 100, 200, or 300. Okay? So that's the switch statement, all right? And it's very helpful in writing code so you won't have all those if statements in it, all right? And this just show you the example. When they put 200, it should output sound and remote control. If they put 300, it should be all 3, picture in picture, stereo, sound, and remote control. They put 500, that's an invalid model. So you cannot only you can only choose the 100, 200, or 300. All right. So it tells us, okay, another example of how useful this fall through capability can be is when you want a program to branch to the same set of statements for a multiple case expression. Okay, that's another way you can do it outside of the one we've just done. Okay, so it says, for example, in this program, program 4-26, okay, it asks the user to select a grade, okay, for pet food. And you know, sometimes when we are asked something on the internet, and we have to input it from the keyboard, many different people enter information many different ways. So if someone asks, if I ask everybody in the class to input the letter A into the computer, it could be half and half, depending, or it could be one way or the other. But I'll probably get some input in a value in uppercase letter, like grades A through 8, and if I have a grade A, B, C, or D. Some may put it in uppercase, and some may put it in lowercase. So when you write in code, you may have to consider that some people may not choose to use caps at certain times and lowercase at certain times. So you're gonna have to consider that in writing your code to check for certain things. All right. So what happens is the switch statement will recognize either upper and lowercase letters in this particular program. So if we look at this program, it says the switch statement in this program uses a fall through feature where when you don't have a break statement to catch both upper case and lowercase letters entered by the user. So let's scroll down. We know about the our stream using namespace. So look, char, feed, grade. So they grading the feed on pet food. Okay. So it asks them to what? Our pet food is available in 3 grades, A, B, and C. Which do you want pricing for? All right. So now all of a sudden you have to input A, B, or C. Like I said, some people might just put in a lowercase a, right? But some people might put uppercase A. So you want your program to be versatile so that what? You won't have people trying, oh, I forgot that capital and I got to go back, put a capital. A is an A in some certain circumstances. So if we look at this, if a person put in a grade of A, whether it's uppercase or lowercase, if it finds the lowercase, once it falls in here, all right, it's gonna what? Give you see out 30 cents per pound. Then even if it checks for the lowercase, all right, but then it finds the uppercase, it's gonna say what? 30 cents per pound. So you understand whether it's an uppercase or lowercase, they will be prompted with the 30 cent per pound. Then what? If they put in a B, whether if say a lowercase b, doesn't match here, doesn't match here, it matches here, but it's still gonna what? Fall into this in the here, long as there's what? No break before this case, and then it's gonna output what? 20 cents per pound. All right. And if it's an uppercase B, it's gonna skip that. All right, skip that. It won't do that, but this one matches, and it's gonna still print 20 cents per pound. And it does it for the C also. And notice you got the break after what? The second case. You're gonna check for a lowercase a and an uppercase a. All right, and we could look at that right quick. And I'll just do 2 of them, A and B. So now let me do Control Z to if I can take my program back to what I had it to, where we're doing the characters. All right. Oh, one more time. All right. So here we have number as being a character. But what we could do, we don't have, well, I could change this to grade so you won't get confused. Kind of based on the same program that we was working with. You know, all right. In a pet food grade A, B, or C. This has to be changed to grade. This has to be changed to grade. All right. So then what? We can do A or single quote A. All right. So, and what? This was what? 30 cents? And I'll just, all right, 30 cents per pound. And then what? Break. Then we can put what? A B here. And then what? We can have what? Capital B. All right. Now, and then this was what? 20 cents per pound. Okay. All right. Now, then the C, and I'll just put 10. I think it was 10. And notice we have our break statement in there, right? I take this 4 out because what? That's not a part of whatever. And what? We could change this to make it sensible if we get a default. All right. And it could say you should put the grade in the grade A, B, or C, or whatever. All right. So if we run this, we have our breaks in here. All right. If we run this, okay, if we enter lowercase a, 30 cents per pound, okay, right? That's what our program gave us, 30 cents per pound for A, and that's lowercase a. But let's go back and we run it, and this time we enter an uppercase A, all right? 30 cents per pound. Okay, so that's how that works. So if we run it again and say we do C, we could do the B or the C, but let's do C, lowercase c. Oh, here we go. 10 cents per pound. If we run it again and we do uppercase C, hit enter, 10 cents per pound. So this is how your case statement works. All right. So hopefully that can answer most of your questions. All right. So if you look here, it says when the user enters an A, and basically what we just talked about, the corresponding case has no statements associated with it. So what? It falls down into no break either. So it falls through to the next case, which is the corresponding A, which is uppercase, and then it will actually perform what? 30 cents per pound. All right. So this ends this session, and now we'll continue with the next one after.